dropping in, stopping by. I'm gonna do a video where I show vinyl records again this week. I actually had intended to have this done yesterday, and I might have some anger management issues because I fired my camera guy, I almost fired my editor. It's like I was screaming 4-letter words, like you probably hear me across the street. It's pretty bad. Drinking something from Oscar. I may have already showed this before. Oscar Blues Good Night, I guess you would say. It's an Imperial Red India Pale Ale, 8.7% alcohol. I think it's called Good Night because you're gonna black out shortly. This is what's gonna happen here. I'm also fully restocked on meat sticks, so goes without saying you can help yourself. I do have something interesting you may want to do with your meat stick. Just kind of it's kind of a tip. You take it seems on paper this seems like a bad idea, but you got to give it a try. You take some of this Fritos jalapeno cheddar, not sponsored. You warm it up. You don't want it too hot. You might burn yourself, but you just dip the tip of your meat stick, drag it around in here. It's not a bad time. So let's show some records. I have one new release. Got a first time on vinyl thing from a 2001 album, a couple 80s type reissues, and then a couple shoegaze records, type records to close it out. Starting to burp again. This is album that just came out last week, technically. It's Rolling Blackouts Coastal Fever. Sideways to New Italy on Sub Pop Records. This is the Big Time Loser edition. This is a quintet out of Melbourne, Australia. It's their second LP. This is the follow-up to the excellent album from 2 years ago now, called Hope Downs, which I received as VCLT. It's kind of, it's pretty much just like a jangly guitar pop record. They have 3 guitarists. It's almost a throwback to like 80s, like college alternative, college radio type stuff. The 3 guitarists sounds like it's just gonna be a mess, but it actually works really well. I think this is a really great album. And I would say that there were some spots I've been able to listen. I didn't even talk about this. So I actually pre-ordered this from Sub Pop sometime earlier in the. I'm having a hard time with time, like understanding what. Like I don't remember when I pre-ordered this. It was a while ago. Like maybe it was a month ago. Maybe it was 6 weeks ago. I don't remember. But I was able. So I've been able to listen to it. They'll let you. Sub Pop will let you stream it after maybe 4 weeks early or something. So I've listened to this a lot. Some of the songs that didn't really work for me initially have grown on me over time. One of the things that I think people will say that fault with this is that it's a little bit samey, like samey sounding. I would say that the songs that I were less immediately winners to me were the ones that weren't samey. So you can take that for what it's worth. Also, because I pre-ordered, I also don't need this because they sent me a download. So if you want, you can have that. And, they sent me a sticker. It's kind of nice. But then, interestingly, I guess the first X number of pre-orders received this. This is a postcard, like a screen-printed postcard. It says, "Keep this postcard if you like. send us another one from where you are. So to send it to us, you could send them a postcard in Australia, but it has a handwritten note. It says, hello, where are you? What movie doesn't exist yet, but should exist? And then it's Fran from the band. So it's kind of an interesting thing, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I guess anybody could send them a postcard. I have the address. I don't know that you need the postcard to send them the postcard, but you can, you know, it's kind of an interesting idea. Next up, this is an album from 2001 that was originally a CD only, like it was never released on vinyl. It's the band Circulatory System, self-titled release. This is their debut LP. It's a double LP. It's essentially the Olivia Tremor Control minus Bill Doss and Eric Harris, with a number of other significant Elephant Six collective contributions. I think that part of this was recorded in Jeff Mangum's bedroom. I'm not really sure what that means, but I think that's on here somewhere. The package, you know, is a stout and like tip-on, like high quality package. I like the art. I can see some people, you know, this cubist. I can see some people not liking it. So anyway, pretty similar to, and this was a Kickstarter, and I toyed with doing the Kickstarter. Like it was towards the end of last year, I toyed with the idea of doing it. I just don't like the idea of not knowing for sure that you're ever going to get anything, because if you buy something through Kickstarter, there's no guarantee that you're actually going to ever receive anything. Money just going. I mean, something to keep in mind. I know people that have ordered like dozens of things, and maybe they only receive a small percentage of them. Some people that really do a lot of that Kickstarter stuff. Anyway, there's the label. The art is all by Will Cullen Hart of Circulatory System of Olivia Tremor Control. This is a very similar sound to Olivia Tremor Control, more so than the subsequent Circulatory System records. You know, so it's psychedelic pop with some experimental elements. I think this is a really good record, but I think it's kind of maybe a little bit mixed. I know it was on some like best of year-end lists and stuff, so it's not like it's not very well regarded, but I think in some circles it's more well regarded than others.
Perfect day. Here in the Milky Way. Revolving around the sun. Revolving around the sun. Let's believe the lovely universe. That's all. Lovely universe. That's all. You'll be fine. You've got your planets installed in the globe inside you.
Next, this is a reissue of an album that was it originally came out in 1986. I had the original LP that I got in the 90s that was not in great shape. So this is a deluxe reissue of it. It's Momus. The album is Circus Maximus. Possibly blasphemous. Gatefold. So this is Momus, is the name that the guy goes, the name he goes by, which is Nick Curry is his real name. This is his debut solo LP. He was previously in the early 80s group called The Happy Family. He's from Scotland. This album, which is his debut LP, has a lot. It's chock full of like biblical references. It's like I say it's somewhat blasphemous. It's talking about like I guess like shady characters in the Bible, more or less. Yeah, I know. This compared to later work, after this he would sign to Creation Records. I think he's friends with Alan McGee, and he had a run of records on there. He's highly influential to, you know, like Jarvis Cocker from Pulp, Brett Anderson from Suede, Divine Comedy, and also like Belle and Sebastian. I think this record, I think that the lyrical style is very influential of what he does. It's kind of like, I think he's put out a ton of records. He puts out like a record a year, even to this day. Like he's got one coming out, but they're all CD only releases. He's somewhat maybe well known for having a song on the album Little Red Songbook called, I think it was called Walter Carlos. And the song is about I might be getting the name wrong. It's either called Wendy Carlos or Walter Carlos. And the song is about if she could go back in time and marry herself, essentially, you know, marry the male. Anyway, he got sued by Wendy Carlos, and so had a pretty big settlement. I think like $30,000 or something. So the first LP is the original LP. The second LP has basically two different EPs: the Murderers, the Hope of Woman EP, and the Nikki EP.
Asking for an executioner so Paul could make his exit as a martyr. The senator sent this answer. He said, should you be so lucky like Saint Sebastian, preferring the egg to the aspirin, swooning as they shoot the arrows through your narrow chest, stripping naked in the Circus Maximus with a martyr-eating lioness, bartering with flesh for a little pain. Scenes like this give sadomasochism a bad name.
Next, this is what amounts to a reissue of all the material by the Liverpool group called Shiny Too Shiny. This is early 80s stuff, synth pop, I guess you would say. Short-lived. They only had like a mini LP and then maybe a couple singles, and this pretty much has everything. The mini LP that they received like glowing reviews at the time. I think it was I don't know, was it Melody Maker's album of the week or Enemies, one or the other. So they were able to do multiple European tours just off the strength of that before they abruptly broke up. It's interesting, like some of these pictures. I have an album from like a new group that they don't dress much differently than this. Like they look like that. They look like that.
We could run and hide, or I could be satisfied if we share our inadequacies of a countless cups of tears. You and me there, we just feel there, making use of the afternoon.
Last two, these are we'll say they're shoegaze. They're in the shoegaze realm. The first one, and I feel bad. I know that I saw this shown in a video. It's a 2019 release. I saw somebody show this, I believe, last year, like maybe around the time this came out, but I cannot remember. And then I'm thinking maybe it wasn't last year, maybe it was more recently. I cannot remember. But then what happened is then I saw the viewer Matt Large show this on Instagram, and so that made me remember to go, because I had actually streamed it at some point and had intended to get it and just never got around to it and then forgot about it, which happens a lot. So anyway, this is Swedish group called West Kust, which I believe means West Coast, and is one word if you're looking for it. It's not two words. This is the band's second LP. This has a heavier guitar attack, more shoegaze than their debut record, which I actually got used also. So I would say this is better than their debut, which is called Last Forever. It's on Run for Cover Records. Vocals are in English, but it probably doesn't matter because they're buried. You can barely hear there's the lyrics. You can barely hear the vocals because of the way that it's mixed. Yeah, it probably doesn't matter. Probably not breaking any new ground, but I think it's a very enjoyable listen. West Kust. So recently I showed a 7-inch record by a Spanish like shoegaze band, indie pop shoegaze called Linda. I can't say it. I've heard her say it. Just by that band. And I had mentioned like how I really liked the song Mucho Mejor and that you couldn't buy it. And then I think literally maybe a week or 2 weeks after, I received an email from Bandcamp that this record, which is a compilation, was being released, and it has that on it. Now, initially, I looked, if you were going to order, this is on Elephant Records out of Spain. I initially was going to order, or looking to order it, and it was excessively expensive. It's a double LP. I think it would have cost like something like $50 to get it directly from Elephant in Spain, or a couple other sellers in the United States that had it were also very expensive. A viewer commented maybe a week or two ago back on that video, AXCX, and he was like, there was a back and forth, but he found a distributor that was selling it for a normal price, like $20 some, and it is in California. So I bought it like in the course of that conversation. Anyway, so this is Linda Julala. This is a retrospective on their first decade of work, which seems kind of weird because they only have 2 LPs, and they release a double LP of collection of their work. The thing is that while they only have 2 LPs, they have a slew of non-album singles, and even like ones that were not even no physical release that are collected onto here. The name, it's not, Linda's not a person. It's named after a monster in a Japanese film. I had to make sure that I wasn't getting that wrong. So it's a nice gatefold. Nice sleeves look like that. And I think there's only one version, and it's on clear vinyl. So I'm a fan of this. I would say I prefer the more recent output. So on a collection of this kind, some of the earlier tracks I don't like as much, but they are still good. So that's. So this one was kind of a rough one, but what are you gonna do? You know, sometimes you just gotta deal with like substandard quality videos. You know, I've just fired my cameraman. I mean, we're going through a lot of change over here at the Douche abode. Yep. So stay tuned for the next Douche-isode. I appreciate you stopping by. You're more than welcome to grab a meat stick for the road if you'd like. Yeah, take care. Cheers.